everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Cici. So today we're going to be doing something a little different than what you've seen so far. We are going to be doing a get ready with me, getting to know me today. So you'll get to see how I did this look right here. If you would like to see anything else, please feel free to sound off in the comments below. Also, you can hit the lovely subscribe button and also the like button because it really helps us out here. With that being said, I think we're gonna just jump into this look. I'm gonna be starting with primer. I'm gonna use the new Urban Decay, well, new-ish, Urban Decay All Nighter Primer. If you hear anything weird, it is going to be either my two cats or my husband because he is down in the basement murdering zombies at this point with his friend. So that's gonna be any of the weird noises and or weird background stuff you are seeing. After primer, I'm gonna go in with my Fenty Beauty Foundation. This is probably the foundation I use the most out of all of my foundations I have, which is a lot because I work at Sephora. So we're gonna start going in with this kind of like flat brush. So I think the first thing we're gonna kind of talk about is my first experience with makeup, that being in high school. So most likely your makeup in high school, unless of course living in the digital age now, was trash, like mine was. So my first like real experience was probably for prom. I did my own makeup, which was the first mistake I made. And I used my sister's foundation because at this point I didn't actually really own any makeup, which my sister is good 3 to 4 shades darker than me. Like, let's just get that out of the way right now. I looked probably like Donald Trump at that point. That was real cute. And it was just a real hot mess. It was like, I had a purple dress, had on purple eyeshadow, which again, probably shouldn't have worn purple on purple, but here we are. Yeah, so looking like 4 shades darker like an orange. At the time, I thought I was looking real hot. Other than that, I think really my only other like experiences with makeup at that time was trying to do my eyebrows, which I don't really understand why that was the only thing I was doing. Most people, when they first start out with makeup, like eyebrows is the last thing they're worrying about. So think James Charles circa 2015 was about what my eyebrows were looking at by that time. With pimple, like, I would say like pizza face. A lot of people used to call me Cici's Pizza because I had really acne prone skin. So pizza face walking around with 2015 James Charles eyebrows. If you can imagine that, that is what my face looked like. Finish up foundation and then we will go into concealer. And I will say for almost every single one of my steps for all of my base products, I only use brushes, and it is because I am extremely oily. So any extra moisture from a sponge just does not mesh well with my particular skin type, which is also why you'll notice almost everything I am applying to my face is matte with the exception of the primer I put on, just so that I'm not looking like a chalky mess. So that is why I am going to be using brushes, and it's the only thing you're gonna see. Okay, we're gonna go into some concealer now. This guy is the Hourglass Vanish concealer. I use the shade Cotton, which is pretty much my skin tone. It's a little bit lighter, but not much. I only use about 4 dots just because I don't like to use a whole lot. It's a lot time consuming and it tends to just make your under eye look even more cakey than it is. So little goes a long way with this guy. I think the next good topic to go into is kind of what sparked my love of makeup after the whole really bad 2015 eyebrow situation. It was actually me going to beauty school. So right after I got out of high school, being like 17, I just turned 18 at the time because I was starting back in September. So I started going to beauty school, and that's really kind of when that whole entire love started happening for makeup, really. And that's kind of also when a lot of YouTubers really started taking off in the beauty industry. More of like the big names, I should say. So like Manny, Jeffrey, all them good people. And really just watching all that and going to school and learning more about the techniques and stuff like that really got me in to wanting to try more of that on myself, since I really didn't know what the heck I was doing. Now, mind you, too, going to beauty school, they force you to wear 3 different products of makeup just so that, you know, you look presentable. It's like having your hair done. So I kind of had to, in that regard, wear it, but it was also really like growing my love too. So I think, again, I was doing eyebrows. That's when I really got into like blush and lips. That's really when I got into a lot of bold colors. I was really trying to make a statement without trying too hard. So we are gonna go in with the Glossier Cloud Paint. This is the color Storm. I think it's the darkest color they have. That is too much. The reason why you don't want to put on your cream after your powder is because you will literally just end up with this whole entire broken up, disgusting looking mess. So please go in with your creams before you do any sort of powdering. I would say that if we're going into products that I love, one of the most recent things actually pertaining to more like cream products, kind of like this guy, I've really been into cream slash like liquid base products. Cream blushes has definitely kind of been one of my favorite things to really be trying out lately, just because it gives such a nice natural like flush to the skin. You can wear them with or without any other makeup just to make you look a little bit more awake. So that is probably the product right now that I can't live without, because even if you're not wearing a whole entire base, you can wear it by itself and it makes you look so much better. Another brand that has really, really good cream blushes that came out not too long ago is Fenty. They also came out with some cream bronzers as well, so if you're one of those girls, you can go pick one of those up too. But their cream blushes, I found, just based off of like friends who have them and everything, are super, super, like, they're not chunky, like the really gross, like almost like moussey texture. They're really nice. They have like a nice slip to them, so I've heard that those are really great too. I am going to switch out my brush because I need a slightly larger one because we're going to be going into some powder. This guy being the Fenty Beauty, the Her Loose powder. This one is in the shade Butter. Kind of how makeup has followed me into this portion of my life. So like I kind of said earlier, I work at Sephora. I have now for 2.5 years. And I think that's kind of the biggest influencing factor in my life in general when makeup is concerning makeup. They really like it piloted the way to just the obsession, like the absurd amount of stuff I have is all from working at Sephora because, you know, gotta use that discount. So for example, this guy, I bought this because it literally came out and I'm like, I need it immediately. Like I need it now in my life. I will never go through this. And I have probably like 17 other powders, and that's just too much for one person. And if you noticed, as I was applying my powder, I did not bake. The reason for that, which is kind of the same reason as a concealer, is excess product on the face tends to make it look crustier. And especially when you have more of an oily skin type, the more products you put on, the more they're gonna slide around your face. So think about that. If you're packing on, say you're packing on a layer of foundation that's super heavy, and then you're applying a layer of concealer that's super heavy, and then you're gonna go in with your powder. And again, you cake that crap on. There is so much product for your oil to break down that it just becomes a gross, slidey mess. So less powder, less product equals less things to break down to look less cakey later, if that makes sense. Other powders that are really good, not just the Fenty, especially if, say, you don't want to necessarily have as much of a matte look. Hourglass has a really good, their Veil translucent setting powder is beautiful. Another one, if you want a more matte powder that isn't Fenty, Huda Beauty, just be mindful that she has really strong scents in her, just all of her products. All of her products smell like a rose garden, which is not for me, but some people really like that. So okay, we're gonna move on to some contour and some bronzer. The contour I'm using, it's actually a little quad. It's from I'm Mimi. I think that's the brand. It's a K-beauty brand. I got it off of Yes Style. It's this little quad dude. And I'm going to use this guy to contour first. I like to do this in 2 separate steps, my contour and my bronzer. I know a lot of people now like to do them in the same step and kind of just use like a tan tour sort of thing. I feel like you really need 2 separate products to do them justice, not just one product, because it ends up looking really orange. So we're gonna go ahead and contour and then go into bronzer after. So as you can see, at least for, well, maybe not on this side, I'll go back to this side, we got a little less hair there. For contour, this is where it kind of differentiates contour versus bronzer. Your contour is going to be more concentrated, so think contour concentration. So you're going to keep that in a smaller area, where your bronzer is going to be a little bit more broad. So bronzer, broad. You're going to keep that so it adds the warmth and the life back to your skin, where this is going to mimic a shadow, which is why it's a little bit cooler toned. Now, I'm a bit warm toned. I would say I'm like a little bit olive. That sounds kind of crazy because I'm also very white, but you can still have a little bit of that olive while you are a little bit on the lighter side. Granted, this powder is a little bit more cool toned, but it's not super cool where it's going to look gray. And I am placing it following from the top of the ear down to the corner of the mouth. That is going to give the most lifted look, and we're really just trying to concentrate it in this small area, because you'll see what we do with bronzer next. Next product we're going into, again, more Fenty. We have so much Fenty today. Fenty Beauty bronzer in Shady Biz. So, like I was saying, this is going to be on a larger brush because we're putting it in a larger area. And this, instead of just keeping it in that line, we're really going to kind of just brush it over that whole area to meld our contour with our blush. Slap that on there.
Yeah, you're doing great for time, actually.
And great for stuttering. We are moving on to probably everybody's least favorite step, which is the eyebrows, which I really don't understand because I enjoy the eyebrows, and especially today because I have a new baby that I want to play with that I got in the mail, and I'm so excited, and no one else will be excited except for me because no one cares about this brand, but that's okay. So it is the VISEART palette. It is their structured brow and eyeshadow palette. It's real cute. So it has 3 little not creams, waxes for your brows, and then the other side can be used as eyeshadow or also eyebrows, which is what I'm going to use for today. While we apply some eyebrows, oh, I'm excited. I don't think I've ever used a wax in my eyebrows before. This will be interesting. Okay, so while we apply some eyebrows here, I think we're going to discuss a little bit of like the YouTube world, because as I was saying earlier, not only do I enjoy makeup, but I also have a gaming husband, which means I also enjoy video games. Spoilers. Currently, my new obsession when it comes to games has been Animal Crossing New Horizon. Pretty sure you guys have heard about it. It's been all the rage while we have been all locked down in quarantine. But I'm pretty sure I've logged like 135 hours into that game thus far. It has been keeping me sane, that is for sure. But when it comes to YouTube and things of that nature, that's kind of what I've been watching, is a lot of people, streaming on Twitch, Animal Crossing, and also playing video games, just in general. I don't typically watch like a whole lot of beauty YouTubers. I know the one that I do watch that I've been really into lately has been Robert Welsh. He is a super talented dude and has been like a professional makeup artist for 12 years, I believe. But super relaxing guy to listen to, really awesome. Has really great advice if you guys ever wanted to go check him out. He has a very similar skin type to mine, which is why I enjoy him. Otherwise, more like gaming related channels. Game Grumps, I have been watching them for a really long time. I enjoy their stuff. There's this gal, though, I don't know how to say her name, it's gonna sound really bad. It's like Batisky, I don't know. She real cool. She does a whole lot of these like really cute eye looks that have to do with like flowers and like cut crease flowers, and it is just phenomenal. Her artistry is beautiful. Keeping up with the theme of just social media in general, especially leaning on Instagram, I do know, and especially like me doing my brows with powder is not necessarily the most common thing ever. I know the trend has kind of been to either use pomades. I have a lot of things to say about that. It's just people using pomades and how you should actually use a pomade it's crazy to me, just the amount of product that people put on their faces. It's just the overuse of product, I think that's really the big thing that kills me. In order to get a flawless base, it's not necessarily about how much you're applying, it's the way that you're applying it and where you're applying it. And I think that's really the biggest thing with, like, especially when it comes to beauty guru content. All you see, right, is people sitting in front of a camera. So you see them really, really washed out. And especially for me doing this here, like, I only have 2 lights on me, okay? Imagine James Charles having like 10 lights on him. So you're seeing something really blown out. You're not seeing any pores. If he had a pimple, you're never gonna see the light of day of that pimple. So it's really not realistic for the everyday person, especially if you are just trying to be like, I'm that girl out on the go. I would like my tinted moisturizer and to leave because I have to go take care of my 5 kids and bring them to soccer practice. James Charles's makeup is not the way that you would be doing that just to look like pretty, to make yourself feel beautiful. Like, yes, Instagram makeup can make you feel beautiful and empowered, but for everyday use, you're going to look like a cakey mess. Like I said earlier, when you're applying layer upon layer upon layer, it doesn't let your skin breathe, and you don't get to see that like natural, beautiful texture that the skin has, because skin texture isn't bad. It's actually very pretty, and it shows that you are a person, not plastic. So I think that's probably my biggest thing with Instagram and beauty guru and the beauty community in general, is all of that excessive use of product, not using it correctly, and thinking that that needs to be the standard when it doesn't. So that's my little rant on for that. Take it with what you will. Now that we are all moved in, I'm gonna start working on the eyes. I'm first gonna go in with my MAC Painterly Paint Pot. You don't have to use Painterly, you can use whatever color works for your skin tone, and I'm gonna slap it on with my finger because I don't need a brush. It'll be fine. On there, and I like to go all the way up to my brow because I have very oily eyelids like every other place on my face, so it helps without like transferring all my mascara and junk like that if you go all the way up. It also kind of helps color correct if you have really veiny eyelids as well, which I do. For this look, I'm going to be using the
Oh, it's your girl,
Jackie Aina palette in collaboration with Anastasia Beverly Hills. I think the first color we are gonna go in with is Edges. It's kind of like this nice warm orangey brown color. I'm gonna start off not with like a super fluffy brush because those are meant more for blending, but kind of this more smaller compact brush. This one's by Luxie, just to kind of stamp on the color first before we blend it out. I'm gonna start here, right kind of at, it's kind of above where my natural crease is because my eyes are a lot more hooded than most people's eyes. It helps so that you're gonna see that color a little bit more. And I'm going in with the smaller brush first, as opposed to say, this guy right here, which is a clean brush. This one's a Sephora collection brush. I don't know the number, but now I'm gonna go in with this guy to help blend that color out, because the biggest mistake that a lot of people make is they go in with this gigantic brush first and wonder why the color in the pan does not look like what it's going on your eye as. It's because you're using something that's way, way, way too fluffy to try to pack on a product, which is not that brush's job. A smaller brush is going to give you more of that density and more of that opacity right away where you want it. And then you can go in like I'm doing here with a smaller or with a larger brush to kind of help blend out but still keep the most intensity where you started off with that other brush. So now going back in with that other brush again, we're gonna take a little bit more of that same exact color and we're gonna start packing on the outer corner, going right up. And again, it's to keep that intensity, and then you can always go back in with your larger brush just to blend, to get that nice smooth transition so you're not seeing that really harsh line, and also your eye color is not all the way up to your eyebrow already. So I'm now going to move into the color Ginger. This guy is a little bit more on the brown side, and I'm going to be going in with more of this flat packing brush. Again, this is another Sephora collection brush, and I will say I have a couple Morphe brushes, and the reason I am not using them, not that they aren't good for beginners, but why would you spend, say, like $5 on a Morphe brush that's gonna last you through like 3 brush washes and then it starts to like kind of fray apart because it's not as great of quality? I think it's a lot better, especially for like younger audience, like younger people. It's a lot nicer to just spend the money outright on really good quality brushes. That way you can keep them for a really long time and not have to just keep rebuying brushes. And then with this color, on the tip of it, what I'm doing is going right into the crease so I can concentrate that color a little bit better, as opposed to going on the big flat side and again, getting it everywhere you don't want it. With this same brush, I'm gonna pick up the color Credit, which is a dark brown, and we're really just gonna deepen that outer corner. Going more with brushes, I will say that it is not bad to own, say, like a Morphe brush or like a Real Techniques brush. It's all about what your priority is. So if you really are going to be dedicated with doing makeup, you want to do it all the time for a really long time, then it might be better to get the longer lasting brushes. But if it's just something you're going to do once in a while, it's okay to go in with a Morphe brush. I have a couple actually sitting in the cup right next to me, and I do enjoy them for what they do. Since I do work at Sephora and I have been using makeup for a little while, I have invested a little bit more of my money into those nicer quality brushes. But if you're not needing to worry about it, I just would go and get your first couple brushes if you're only going to be doing it once in a while. That is totally okay. All right, I'm gonna go back in with my larger brush real quick, just to blend everything nicely together. And again, there's no product on this brush. It is a completely empty brush. And see how that creates just a nice blend from the dark to the light, except for right here, because that's not gonna matter. I'm gonna pop some shimmer on it right about now. I'm now gonna go into the shade Sponsored. It's a really pretty like duochrome green, almost like purple red. It's really, really pretty. It's one of my favorite colors in this palette. And speaking of palettes, this is probably one of my favorites when it comes to like being neutral but still having pops of color. But some of the other palettes that I really love, and again, take this with like a grain of salt because one of these is going to be Natasha Denona. You do not have to go out and buy a Natasha Denona palette. I do understand they're $129, but the barbecue palette, as we call it, it's actually the Biba palette, but it looks like it says barbecue on the front. That one is a really, really pretty neutral, like almost like bridal sort of palette. That one's one of my absolute favorites. If we're going back down to kind of not like low end, but like medium tier-ish brands. I actually really like the Too Faced Matte's Natural palette, natural matte palette actually. That one's super pretty. You will find out really quickly that I'm not the most exciting colored person when it comes to like eyeshadows. Like eyeshadow is my favorite step because you can really be creative, but when it comes down to it, I really just like brown. Like I'm really just that brown sort of person. But I do like a good fair bit of color as well. I really like the I'm not like the biggest fan of James Charles. There's nothing wrong with him, but I do actually like his palette. It's a nice affordable if you're starting out with color, like really easy to get into, easy to blend. So that one's a nice one if you are looking for something a little bit more colorful. As are a lot of like the NYX eyeshadow palette. I'm finished blending that out with my finger. Again, go in real quick, just blend that little line out. And then we will get going on the bottom lash line. Time for the bottom lash line. We are gonna go into some Wigglies, which is a pretty shimmery, like coppery red. And we are gonna put that on a really tiny brush. This one's actually quite affordable as well. I believe this is from Moda Pro. I think you can find those at like Walmart, but any sort of just like little small packer brush will do. You just don't want it to be too big unless you're really trying to go for something blown out, but I'm just wanting to keep it really close to that lash line. So we're just gonna pop that guy on here. And you can also wet your brush for this step too if you really want it to be nice and metallic, but I just kind of want it there for the color, not necessarily the shine. Sweet, and I think I'm done. I will be right back. I'm going to do this look on the other eye, pop on some mascara, and then we can go ahead and finish up the look with some lips. We are back, and as you've noticed, I have finished my other eye, and I also have on some mascara. The one I have chosen is the Glossier Lash Slick. I was actually recommended this by one of my coworkers, and then I ordered it instead of one of my other friends, and I'm in love with it. It is my new obsession. But as you can also see, I have no lashes on, and there is a reason for that. I hate them with a fiery passion. My eyes water absurdly, so every time I put one on, it literally will just come right off my left eye. It is absolutely annoying. I also find, unless you're really doing like a very intense, like moody look, lashes don't add much. That is most likely personal preference or personal opinion. As long as you have a real good mascara, I feel like for something like this where it's a little bit more subdued, it works out really well without having a lash. Do you? If you want to wear a lash, go for it. But I know some people who are like me, like they have complications with their eyes where they water, or for example, like people who wear glasses, it's kind of ineffective for them to be wearing a lash and then having that hit their glasses all the time. It's kind of annoying. So every time you see me on this channel, I most likely will not be having a lash on because they are not my cup of tea. Do not come for me. It's all good. We don't have to wear lashes if we don't want to. The last step we are going to move on to is the lips. I have the Makeup Forever Artist Pencil here in Wear Walnut. This is used and abused. It used to be like this long and is one of my favorite lip liners. And if you aren't using a lip liner, I really would recommend. They are awesome if you ever want to overdraw your lip, make them look a little bit more pouty, more juicy. They also help, since I, again, for like the 80th time in this video, I am oily, so everything travels. So a lip liner really helps with that, or like a lip primer. I know like Bite makes one of those too if you don't want something with color. Lip liners are the way to go if you're not using one already. So we're gonna pop that on, and then I got a couple more things to put on I think will be good. Lip liner's on, and now we're gonna go ahead and apply the lipstick. This is the Milani matte something in the shade 69, matte lipstick. I prefer not using liquid lipsticks. I just find that they're a little bit dry. So most of the time you'll see me using a bullet lip. Nothing wrong with a liquid lipstick. This is just personal preference since my lips get kind of crusty dusty. So we're not trying to emphasize that here in this house. Most of the time you're going to see me in a brown nude lip. Sorry about it. You're just going to have to deal. Hi, kitty. You're so cute. Pop that on. We're gonna pop on a gloss as well. We got some Hourglass here in the shade Unreal. I will be perfectly honest with you, I don't really like this lip gloss. First of all, it's like $38, which is a lot of money for a lip gloss in my personal opinion. It's not even the formula that's bad. Like the formula's fine. It's that it's minty. Like it smells like if you went to the dentist and they just brushed your teeth, but they brushed your teeth like 37 times and now you gotta go on a date so your face is like super pepperminty. Like that is what this reminds me of. But I'm gonna put it on anyway because it's cute. The last thing we gotta do is just set our faces with some setting spray. This is the Morphe Luminous Setting Spray. I've tried this once. Normally I wouldn't be a luminous setting spray sort of person, but I was gifted this and I want to use it, so here we go. As you probably also noticed, I didn't highlight my face, which I know, oh my god, what are we doing? This is YouTube. You should be putting on 3 million pounds of highlighter. Well, my face produces its own highlighters, so we just skip that step most of the time. Not that it ain't cute, but in 2 hours, I will be looking like McDonald's french fries, like I have said previously, and I'm just not feeling it today. Thank you, everybody, for getting ready with me today. It was super fun. If there are any like additional things you'd like to ask, like any questions that you have about your personal makeup, or just makeup in general, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. I'm pretty sure one of us, if it's not me, one of the other gals will get to it in the future on our channel, maybe even make some videos about it. So feel free to leave all that sort of stuff down below. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit the bell button, even though I'm pretty sure it does absolutely nothing, but you can click it anyway. And I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye. I know, I'm just like gonna sit here for 20 minutes being like, existential crisis. Heaven. Woo, there it went.
We have boobs.
Right.
Like that.
I thought you just said we have boobs. And I'm like, I do have boobs. You are correct.